Hey y'all, it's your girl Sia, and I'm back with another video. Y'all, so help me out. First things first, I want to say that I'm still striving to research and learn more about this quote unquote protest and movement that we're seeing occur at a lot of the bigger colleges around the nation, right? And the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm a bit confused, and maybe you guys can help me out, but I'm a bit confused as to why these college students, I mean, minus the if there were any vandalism or any damage to property, harm to someone else, minus like the typical stuff, right? I'm having a hard time understanding why, like, the media and everybody is so against this protest movement. Again, I don't have family in Israel. I am not affiliated with Israel or Gaza. Um, but I guess I'm confused, okay? Because if the argument and the frustration that is happening is excuse me, is against a certain group of people who are I don't even want to say when I'm watching these protests, right? And the people speak and the faculty speak and the students speak, I do not feel, and this is my opinion, but I'm not getting like this level of hatred, I guess, that people are saying is existing in these protests, right? When I hear these faculty speak, I hear them speaking from an intelligent, whether I agree with it or not, it's a very intelligent dialogue. Now, maybe the students, some of them, it's a hit and miss, right? But I do feel like for the most part, the students are fully aware of what they're fighting for. And whether or not it comes across that way via the media is something completely different, right? And I don't know that I'm like against what they're doing. Does that make sense? Like, I'm still trying to figure out why I should be against this movement. Okay. Now, I understand that America is in bed with Israel and all this jazz. But I don't know that all the American people signed up to be in bed with anyone. I'm just saying. I guess what I'm asking is for those who are listening, and I'm still going to keep doing more research because, again, I mean, is the argument that Israel is not doing the things to Gaza that people are claiming that they're doing? Is that why America is like so upset? Like, obviously, it's a lot deeper than that, right? I feel like there are contracts in place where America is to support Israel no matter what, right? And I think that no matter what also means good or bad, okay? What I hear the college students saying is saying, hey, look, why are we so full? Like, basically, why are we in support of this? Why are we supporting this? Obviously, they're talking about all the atrocities that have occurred in Gaza. I guess I'm confused as to why people are so against that, right? For example, and again, apologies for my naivety because I don't know. I'm still researching this whole thing, right? Because I'm curious now. I want to know why people like hate these college students so much, right? But for me, it seems like history is repeating itself. And what we're seeing now is very similar to what we saw. Well, not we, but those who were before me saw during the Vietnam War, right? And the protests that were occurring in the United States during that time. Um, Again, I am pro America. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like offensive to anyone else, but I don't have a dog in anybody else's fight, right? And just because the country's politics align with another country's desires or whatever, like that ain't got shit to do with me personally on an individual level. And this is again why I don't know that I'll be voting for Trump. Okay, because my question is, why is, I'm not saying it's right or wrong because I don't know, why is America in bed with Israel at the level that we are? Right? I guess maybe somebody can explain that to me. Like, what is the reason that we are so willing to turn a blind eye on everything else, you know, as it pertains to Israel, as it pertains to some of these countries that we're in bed with, right? I don't get it. I don't again, I think it's people's prerogative. If you want to go protest, that's on you. Obviously I'm not a fan of unruly protests. However, I do know that when you're attempting to make a statement, um sometimes those things may look a little different than what the average person had in mind, okay? um so I know the college students made demands, right? And I think that part of me was like, okay, really? Right? Just because it's like, is this really what you're willing to spend your time on? But at the same time, I'm like, aren't billions of dollars of my tax money? I mean, I don't know about just mine. I'm sure it's all of ours going to not just Ukraine, but Israel as well. Is it because we have such a high population of people from Israel? Like, this is what I'm starting to believe, is that we are in bed with certain countries, and this is just my opinion. Again, I don't know. But the reason we're in bed with certain countries is because of the populations of those people that we have in this country. And I don't need to really go into depth about what we hear certain types of people doing at a much higher level because they can, because they have money, because they're who they are. And so hopefully you guys can read between the lines, because I'm really not trying to come across a certain way. I have an opinion, and I'm a bit confused. Um but you have these people who are known for doing things, having levels of power that the average citizen doesn't have. But yet we're mad at college students. Like, I just want to know what the outrage is for, right? Because maybe that would help me understand. Like, that would give me I don't know that I would agree, but it would give me an understanding of what the real argument is. Like, and I'm pretty sure I have a good grasp of the argument, I think. But I just don't find myself aligning with the right. That, I feel like this is one of those situations where it almost contradicts everything that the right says and quote unquote believes. Am I right or am I wrong? Because from what I see is the right supports Israel, right? That's what it's looking like. I mean, you got Trump, supporting Israel. I'm sure a lot of the shills support Israel. So does that mean that as an individual person, those on the right support Israel? And for my mind, granted, I understand that there are terrorist, quote unquote, terrorist cells, the Hamas situation, and Israel and all that, right? But I don't believe that that situation, and again, I don't know war because I've never been in it by the grace of God on this level, right? But I would think that even in that situation, and again, I don't know these types of people, who knows? Maybe there's a lot of women and children who are supposed to be what the America deems as women and children, but there's something else, right? I don't know about this culture enough to know what the reason for certain situations that have occurred to occur. I don't know that war necessarily justifies the killing of just innocent people. Now, with that being said, I do know that there are casualties of war, right? But casualties how? Like, are we saying that hundreds of thousands of people are casualties of a war? Thousands of people are casualties of a war, or a few hundred or five? Like, I think that that makes the number of what we consider to be casualties, knowing that we know we have a government that is a bit weird in their transparency and their ability to be honest and truthful with the American people. What does those like, what's the number of casualties that we're saying is really occurring, and what's the reason these attacks are happening? Again, I get the if you're a terrorist and you're coming for me, I'm coming for you, right? I get that narrative, right? And I'm gonna take you out before you take me out. Like, I get it. But I do feel like, and this is just from history and what we've seen time and time again, that sometimes we utilize the threat as an excuse to go in and do whatever the fuck we want. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening. I'm just, I have to like acknowledge that. We can't just like not acknowledge that. That's been happening in almost every war you can think of. Okay. So is this a spell that like Americans are under? Because what happens is, what seems to happen to me, right, is that we wake up a little bit, and then whatever we like, we get to one step and then we have a hard time getting to the next step. I don't know for what reason. I don't know. But I'm just not sure why Americans are mad at these college students. Like, they got grandparents that did what they are doing now, right? I'm just saying, I'm not, are we saying that the students are just making this stuff up and it's not accurate? And so therefore what? Or is this really a time where you're beginning to see, and this is, I don't mean to say, I'm not going to use the words racism, okay? Because I don't think that's the proper term. Are we in a time where certain people, because of their biases, right? Because, whatever. Is this why like the majority of the people like on the right, it seems like, are like in bed with Israel? And I say in bed because when you go on Fox News, and Fox is covering all the different things where the police went in and all that, all the protests, whatever, and you're seeing a ton of people dislike what the students are doing. And in my mind, I'm like, well, isn't this what you guys say you're fighting against? Really? Like, isn't that the purpose for Trump, essentially? Oh, excuse me, except when it comes to Israel, I guess. I could have sworn like that's what y'all support. Like, even though it's coming from a younger audience, a younger, I don't know, they're just young people, which essentially are like the future of the country, right? So I would think, like, I guess maybe I'm confused, but if the students are fighting for what they say that they're fighting for, then I don't know that I guess I don't want to say I'm against it or for it. I just don't see what the big deal is surrounding them speaking up. Like, I don't want to give my opinion on this all the way, because y'all gonna start calling me names and telling me what you think I am, and I can't afford all that. Like, I'm not about to be dealing with all that. But I'm confused, right? If I went off, let's just say this, I'm gonna continue doing my research. But if I had to go off the information that I have right now, I'm not understanding what the college students, I mean, outside of the stuff that I labeled as, vandalism, destruction of property, maybe disturbing the peace, I guess. All the different laws that man has created to control humans, right? Um, Outside of those, right? The written rules, right? The ones that are on paper and that everybody knows is a law. Aside from all of that, what are the students saying that is actually wrong? Like, and again, I apologize for my naivety, but I need some clarity. Like I maybe there's somebody who can help me understand what the actual issue really is against these students. I think it's selective outrage, in my personal opinion. I don't think that this is similar to what we saw with Black Lives Matter. I know a lot of people try to confuse the two, and they always say, "Hey, who's paying them to go disturb the peace?" And da da da. That's what a fucking protest does, right? I believe that if I had a just cause to protest for something and I had people supporting this cause, um, is my intent to be violent and all that? No. But I guess in those kinds of situations, you never know what actually comes about those situations either. So while the goal would be to be peaceful, I don't know too many protesters that were always peaceful, or even if they were peaceful, they still did something wrong that ended them up in jail. Okay. So the jail is like not new to this lifestyle, the protesting lifestyle. In my opinion, Black Lives Matter it came across as a protest that was intended to destroy. And the worst part about the Black Lives Matter movement is there aren't too many black people a part of that movement. It's a lot of white folks, it's a lot of migrants and immigrants and shit, but you don't see too many of us that are really a part of that movement and stand tall with that movement. And then the actions that were caused as a result of, right? So not only do you not really see too many black people in that movement, you saw tons of whites and tons of immigrants. I'm going to keep reminding people of this because, again, we have selective memory, who went into black neighborhoods and destroyed black neighborhoods. So I guess to me, that's a little different. And they did it in the guise of Black Lives Matter. So for me, that was like, these motherfuckers is racist. They trying to say that they care about me, but they don't fucking care about me, bro. That's what my beef was with the Black Lives Matter movement. Not only are you destroying shit, but you're playing like you give a fuck about people who look like me, but I can't tell. You see what I'm saying? That was my overall beef with Black Lives Matter, right? Obviously, we ended up finding out that the people were connected with other people. George Soros, who happens to be a what? See, this is what I guess I'm confused. Again, maybe there's something I'm missing. But anytime we go against these college students, at least this is what I'm hearing from the information that I have. And again, I understand I'm a bit naive. I don't have a dog in this fight. But what folks are telling me is that instead of choosing the American college students, we choose George Soros. Like, that's exactly in my head. That's what I'm hearing. How dare these students speak up, speak out? We support George Soros. Isn't George Soros one of them? Like isn't he Jewish? I might be wrong. Maybe he's not. He could be Russian. I thought he was a Jewish. I thought he was, and I could be wrong. But I know that them folks is in power. And I know that there's a lot of people that anytime they speak out against these people, there's a consequence to pay. So I guess I don't know. Maybe again, This is, I would like people to enlighten me. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments. What is the issue? What is the reason that Americans, not the elite, not the establishment, but the average everyday American would be upset over these protests? Now, I can understand that if you were on the college campus and you had a class that you needed to attend, and now you got to walk through this protest of nonsense, like I probably would be peed off, right? If I had to, if I was separate from the protest, which I mean I am, and I was on campus and I had an event that day that I was supposed to attend, but it didn't happen because of this goddamn protest, I might feel some type of way. But when we look at the bigger picture, what is a fucking argument, bro? Like, that's the part I'm like, huh? Are we really telling these college students who are the future of the next gen, like they're our future, they're my future, they're your future? Are we really trying to demonize these kids for standing up for what they felt like they should do? And then, not to mention, I understand the whole way in which they protest, because I'm starting to think that's more of what the issue is outside of like the big establishment, right? We already know that they have an allegiance with Israel, and that I believe for some reason if they're trying to mitigate, right, the because of the allegiance and the loyalty to Israel as it relates to the establishment, okay, and that's politicians, everything included, right? For the college students to start saying, nah, we're not in support of that, I think it's causing conflicting messages, right? So, where the establishment is like, yo, Israel, we got your back, the people, well, maybe not the people. Some of the people are saying, no, screw that. We're not a part of this. We don't support you. And I think that because as a country we are one, but as a country we're finding our quote unquote individualism. I don't even know if that's a good thing, but we're finding this, and we have avenues in which we can speak up as individuals. And again, your country is saying, no, we support this, but then the people are making such a big stink saying, no, we don't, right? And that causes conflicting messages, right? So I believe that that's possibly why the media has really cracked down. And it's not just the media, it's the police, it's all them people that showed up to get the in the protest or whatever, the police officers, all of that. It's damage control. It's like a way to if we don't get them kids in line, right? And I just, again, Trump is on the side of Israel. Okay. So this is where, for me, I guess I, as a black person, right? Obviously, and I'm not saying I wouldn't be so in depth about this, but I don't have too many relations as it relates to like foreign countries and stuff, right? So my interest in learning about foreign history is not so much, okay? It's growing because I'm just trying to figure out what the conversation is as it relates to Israel and Gaza. Obviously, I know some folks from Israel. I love them actually. But they're Americans, they have their family in Israel, but they're Americans, right? So it's not like I'm calling long distance to talk to them. And I just remember those conversations coming up, and I didn't really, I'm trying to gauge from everybody what is the issue, right? Outside of the war, like, if these kids want to protest what they feel is right or wrong, why aren't they allowed to do that? Like, why is that such a big deal that they get them in line? I don't know. Again, I understand the destroying of property, stuff like that. Again, are there better ways to do things? Of course, right? If you're going to take over a whole school. But again, that's history in the making. Since when do we see college students taking over whole schools and stuff? And these are the campuses that you see these things happening on are like well-to-do off schools, right? So I don't know. Like, I don't know that I can. And you know what's interesting is I wonder if the parents of those children can too. I don't know that I can turn a blind eye and be like, y'all are bad, you bad people. Like, I can't do that because I can see pretty much their side 100%. I can see Israel's side. If they have a side outside of like the Hamas situation, I get it, right? An eye for an eye. But outside of that, like, I'm really not getting the whole beef. I don't need to know really what's going on with Israel and Gaza. I'm not understanding America's involvement with Israel. I just, okay, if we're allies, we're allies. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I just need someone to explain it to me. Explain to me why I, as a black woman here in America, should be in support of Israel. Like, I'm confused. Like, I don't know. Okay, so let me know. With that being said, y'all, I'm out. Peace.